There comes a moment, quiet, sacred, when no one is watching, and you whisper a vow to your soul. A promise made in the silence of struggle, birthed not in comfort, but in chaos. Maybe you were sitting in your car with tears falling silently on the steering wheel or standing in the mirror, barely recognizing who stared back. Maybe it just failed again, or maybe it was the exact moment you realized you were made for more than what you were living. There will come a moment, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe in the middle of your fight, when everything inside you will whisper, it's easier to just give up. And in that very moment, heaven leans in close, because it's not your strength heaven's measuring, it's your remembrance. Not how loud your faith sounds, but how deeply your promise still echoes in the silence. See, when you first made that promise to yourself, to rise, to change, to heal, to fight back, it didn't come from convenience, it came from clarity. And that kind of clarity doesn't depend on mood or season or comfort. It's born from a vision God whispered into your heart long before you had the strength to walk it out. So don't let today's tiredness erase tomorrow's testimony. Don't let the tears of now blur the triumph that's coming. That's coming. There is a promise stitched into your soul, one you made in a quiet moment of boldness. A vow not to settle, not to sink, not to stop. And the one who breathed that dream into your bones hasn't forgotten. Don't you forget either. Feelings fade, but promises stand. But promises stand. Your flesh feels, but your spirit knows. The human experience will always carry emotion, grief, doubt, frustration, fatigue. But the spiritual life is built on truth, not temperature. You might not feel like showing up. You might not feel like pushing through. But your spirit knows that faith isn't a feeling, it's a knowing. And that knowing holds steady when the storm howls and the lights go dim. You don't need to feel perfect to move forward. You don't need to feel holy to be obedient. You simply need to remember what you declared in your spirit when your soul is awake. That vow you made on your knees is still valid, even when your strength is wavering. God honors the spirit that moves through fatigue, through fog, through frustration. Through frustration. He doesn't wait for your emotional high. He responds to your steady walk. So today, don't bow to your feelings. Let your spirit lead. Let it preach louder than your discouragement. Let it remember what your emotions are trying to forget. The promise doesn't expire just because the process hurts. We often believe that pain must mean we've gone the wrong way, but pain isn't always a sign of wrong direction. It's often the friction of transformation. You ask for purpose, not passivity. You declare growth, not comfort. So why are we surprised when resistance shows up? It's in that resistance that the promise is carved deeper. When Abraham waited decades for a child, when Joseph sat forgotten in prison, when David hid in caves with the promise of kingship still unfulfilled, none of that pain revoked the promise. Find it. And that same fire is touching your life, not to burn you, but to purify what you said you'd become. Do not mourn the wait. Do not curse the climb. Each time you resist the urge to settle, your promise gets louder in the courts of heaven. You may be crawling through the process, but you're still carrying the vow. And if you'll hold the line, if you'll believe that what God put in you is worth the agony of birth, you'll live to see the fulfillment. He never promised ease. He promised presence. And his presence carries power enough to keep you when your mood can't. Satan attacks promises, not potentials. You're not being fought because you're weak. You're being fought because you're dangerous. The enemy doesn't waste ammo on people with no future. He targets the ones carrying promises because those promises shift legacies. When you made that vow to heal from your past, the enemy marked you. When you promised yourself you wouldn't repeat your family's cycles, all hell took notice. You said you'd walk with integrity, that you'd rise in holiness, that you'd build something eternal. And Satan saw a threat. And the attacks aren't proof that you're failing. They're evidence that your vow has weight. So don't misinterpret the warfare. It's not a sign you should quit. It's a sign you're close. And when your feelings start screaming that you're not enough, speak louder in the language of your promise. Say, I'm still here. Say, I still believe. Say, I'm not backing down just because it hurts. The enemy doesn't fear how loud you shout on Sunday. He fears how consistent you walk on Monday. Your mood may shift, but your promise must not. God remembers what you said in secret. There's a sacred moment in every believer's life, a moment no one else hears, a moment in the dark where you whisper, I want more, and heaven hears it. That cry for a life that matters, for a walk that's faithful, for a heart that won't fold in the fire. God doesn't forget what was said in tears. And He doesn't disregard the vow whispered in a midnight prayer. He collects every word, every promise, every offering of obedience, even when it was made from a broken place. And when you think He's silent, He's actually preparing the stage to honor the words you dared to say when no one was watching. You said, I won't give up. You said, I'll stay faithful even when I'm unseen. You said, I want to be the one who doesn't walk away when it's hard. And God took you at your word. So now when the pressure rises, don't retract your vow. Repeat it. And when the emotions shift, don't rewrite your story. Reclaim it. Because God's promises are yes and amen. But He's still looking for the heart that keeps saying yes, even when it doesn't feel like it. You may be walking tired. You may be walking tired. You may be praying exhausted. But He sees the obedience. And that obedience is sacred soil for breakthrough. There comes a moment when silence becomes heavier than noise. When the ache in your spirit cries louder than any voice around you. Maybe you felt it too. That quiet grief, that sacred longing, that haunting memory of a promise you made when you were down on your knees, shattered but still speaking to heaven. You said, I will not stay here. I will rise, I will change. I will live a life. I will change. I will live a life that reflects the power you put in me. You didn't whisper it to the world. You cried it out to God, maybe with trembling lips and tears that wouldn't stop. And though the days passed and some of the pain is dulled, you've not forgotten. You still carry it, that dream, that vow, that picture in your soul of who you were always meant to be. Let me tell you something I know with every fiber of my being. That promise was not a fantasy. It was a seed. It was truth whispered through the crack in your despair. But now comes the part no one wants to talk about. The transformation. Because the life you promised yourself will cost you the one that broke you. And that is both the invitation and the challenge. You can't walk into a new destiny wearing the tattered identity of an old one. You can't demand breakthrough while sleeping next to your brokenness and calling it a comfort. There is a version of you that God never authorized, but you've worn it so long. You think it's you, the insecure version. The one who settled for survival, the one who called rejection a personality trait, the one who mistook being silent for being strong. But to step into the life you promised yourself, you must bury the identity you built during the battle. It got you through, yes. It cannot take you further. You're gonna have to lay it down. That fear that says you're too late. That bitterness that grew in the cracks of your broken expectations. That resentment that whispered, you're not chosen. Let them all die. Because the grave can't be your teacher if heaven is your destination. You're not too broken, too behind, or too forgotten. You are simply shedding what cannot walk with you anymore. Sometimes we pray for the promised land, but complain when the wilderness strips us. But hear me. The stripping is mercy. The shedding is proof. You see, God won't allow the life you promised yourself to be built on a foundation He didn't ordain. So He'll shake it. He'll pull you out of toxic patterns. He'll frustrate fake friendships. He'll close the door you begged Him to open. He'll close the door you begged Him to open. Why? Because He heard the promise you made. And unlike man, He takes you at your word. He will remove what you won't release. He will disrupt what you continue to tolerate. He will protect the future you cried for by dismantling the past you survived. And that, my friend, is love. And that, my friend, is love. That's not punishment. That's proof He's still listening. But let me be clear. It will hurt. There will be nights where you wonder if this kind of change is worth it. There will be days when you miss what you left behind. But even if it nearly killed you, don't feel guilty for grieving what God removed. Just don't go back to it. Don't water the weeds He pulled up by the root. Don't glamorize the cage just because you grew strong inside of it. You are not loyal to your pain. You are loyal to your promise. Every time you say no to what broke you, you're saying yes to the person you vowed to become. Every time you silence the inner critic and speak life to your future, you're honoring that sacred vow. The life you promised yourself will require you to choose over and over again. Freedom or familiarity. Freedom or familiarity. Purpose or patterns. Growth or grief. Choose well, choose truth. Choose God's version of your life, not the one shaped by trauma, but the one sculpted by grace. You're not here today by accident. You're not hearing these words because it's a coincidence. Heaven wants your attention. The promise you made, maybe when you were 14, maybe last week, is not forgotten. The vision is still valid. But here's the thing, it's time to act like it. If you believe in that life, walk like it. Speak like it, move like it. Your posture must match your prophecy. You don't get to just wish your way into wholeness. You work your way in with obedience, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because transformation is not for the passive. It's for the persistent. You won't always feel brave, but if you obey, even while trembling, God will honor it. He's not waiting for your perfection. He's looking for your movement. I know you're tired. I know it's been long, but the cost is worth it. The life you promised yourself is drenched in purpose, not performance. It's laced with peace, not pressure. It won't feel like striving. It will feel like finally breathing. But you've got to endure the in-between. You've got to stay faithful when it's quiet. You've got to keep praying when it feels pointless. Because the life that broke you taught you how to fight. But the life you promised yourself will teach you how to live. You didn't survive all that to become bitter. You survived so you could carry healing, so you could carry light, so you could stand as living proof that God still honors covenant, even the ones you whispered through your tears. So now I say to you, don't delay. Don't dance around the edge of obedience hoping God will lower the price. He won't. And good, because he knows what's on the other side is worth every sacrifice. It's time. Time to burn the old script. Time to release the familiar ache. Time to break the soul ties with your past. You will not carry the curse into your calling. You will not limp into your legacy. You will walk in boldness because you chose surrender over self-sabotage. The life you promised yourself is not a maybe, it's a must. But you have to want it more than the comfort of the life that broke you. You have to desire healing more than you fear change. You have to trust God more than you trust your wounds. Don't let another year pass explaining your potential instead of embodying it. Don't let your future children inherit your fears. Don't delay the life you were born to live, because the graveyard of your past feels familiar. Rise up, not in emotion, but in decision. Heaven is leaning in. The angels are watching, and your Creator is still waiting on the word you gave him. Keep it, even if it costs everything familiar. Because that life, that sacred, fire-breathed, anointed life you saw when you were on your knees, that life is still yours. But it demands you lay down what broke you. Sometimes we walk through seasons where it feels like our prayers have dried up before they ever reached heaven. You've done everything right. You've sowed in tears. You've obeyed when it didn't make sense. You've stayed faithful when your flesh screamed to give up, and yet all around you is still silence. No blooms, no breakthrough, no harvest, just soil that seems untouched, dreams that feel buried, and a heart that's starting to ache from the waiting. I want to speak to that heart tonight. I want to speak to that heart tonight. The one that's weary from watering, the one that wonders if anything will ever grow from what you've poured out in obedience. Let me remind you, God does not forget the seed, and he does not despise the process. He counts every tear, hears every whisper of hope you muster, and watches every act of obedience like a gardener watching the first stir beneath the surface. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not working. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's dead. Faith isn't proven in the harvest, it's proven in the watering. And if you'll keep showing up when there's no applause, keep trusting when there's no sign, keep believing when your eyes tell you to doubt, then heaven will testify on your behalf. Then heaven will testify on your behalf. The fruit may not be seen today, but your watering is not wasted. Stay planted, stay faithful, keep watering in faith. The first truth I want to deposit into your spirit tonight is this: God works in the unseen long before he reveals in the seen. When a farmer places seed in the ground, he doesn't wake up the next day and dig it up to check if it's working. He doesn't panic because he can't see a sprout yet. No, he understands something divine is happening beneath the soil. So he keeps watering, keeps believing, keeps believing. Because he knows that in due time, the seed will answer to the rain. And just like that seed, your obedience is already producing something underground. You may not see the result, but that doesn't mean the system is broken. The delay is not denial. It's development. It's development. As God is fortifying your root before he reveals your fruit. He's anchoring your faith deeper so your harvest doesn't blow over in the first storm. Don't trade the process for the promise. You don't need to feel it to believe it. You need to believe it until you see it. Heaven has heard you. Heaven has heard you. Keep watering. Secondly, your consistency is louder than your circumstances. Hell gets nervous when you keep showing up with no reward in sight. Because that kind of faith can't be manipulated. It can't be discouraged. It can't be bought with comfort. It can't be bought with comfort. When you wake up and still choose the mission, even when your mood says quit, that's when the enemy knows you're dangerous. That's when breakthrough is closer than ever. Don't let temporary silence cause you to abandon an eternal promise. Faith doesn't need proof to proceed. It just needs trust. You don't worship because everything is going right. You worship because he is still worthy. You don't obey because the doors are flying open. You obey because he told you to walk forward. And if he told you to water, then you water. Then you water. Even if your hand is tired, even if your heart is heavy, even if your hope feels faint, water anyway. Your consistency is your sermon, and heaven is listening. Third, the greatest miracles are born from dry places. Do you remember the woman with the oil in 2 Kings 4? She had nothing left but a jar. Her supply was low, her future looked empty, and the creditors were coming to collect. But what did the prophet say? Go gather jars, not a few, and pour. And pour, that command made no earthly sense. How can you pour from what's already empty? But she obeyed. She shut the door and poured anyway. And as long as there is space, the oil flowed. That's what obedience does. It creates space for the supernatural. When you feel like you've got nothing left and you still choose to trust, still choose to pour, still choose to pour, still choose to worship, that's when the oil flows. The miracle isn't in your strength. It's in your surrender. God doesn't need your plenty. He blesses your obedience. So take what little you have and pour it in faith. Watch him multiply what you thought was finished. Lastly, you are not waiting alone. The gardener of your soul is watching. He's pruning, he's tending, he's closer than you think. And he knows when the harvest must break through. The enemy would love to convince you that the delay is personal, that God forgot you, that your efforts are wasted. But the devil is a liar. God never forgets a seed, and he always honors faith. Don't let silence make you stop singing. Don't let emptiness make you stop giving. Don't let hiddenness make you stop hoping. You are not buried. You are planted. And planted things rise in time. Your faithfulness in the dark will shout in the daylight. The season of no freight is not the end. It's the setup. Every tear is watering something. Every praise is shifting something. Every step forward is marking something in the spirit. Do not grow weary in doing good, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. There comes a moment when you're standing alone in a room and the voice of doubt is louder than the encouragement of those who once cheered you on. A moment where what you believe about yourself begins to tremble under the weight of insecurity. If you've been there, if you are there right now, I want you to know this. You are not alone, but more importantly, I want you to know something greater. Your integrity can carry you and your confidence cannot. Integrity doesn't rely on applause. It doesn't bend with mood swings or vanish when fear creeps in. Integrity stands even when your knees shake. It speaks truth, even when your voice wavers. It walks upright, even when the path is uncertain. Insecurity tells you to shrink. Integrity tells you to stand tall. And while insecurity demands that you be perfect, integrity only asks that you be faithful. The world celebrates charisma, but heaven honors character. The spotlight may come and go, but the Lord keeps his eye on those who stay consistent when no one is watching. You don't need to feel strong to be obedient. You don't need to feel sure to be trustworthy. All you need is a willing heart, a surrendered will, and the kind of integrity that won't sell out when the pressure builds. Now let's build this life the right way, on truth that can't be shaken even when your confidence is. 1. Your calling doesn't require confidence, it requires conviction. You may be waiting for the day you finally feel brave enough, worthy enough, sure enough. But here's the truth. The calling of God on your life didn't wait for your confidence to arrive. It showed up anyway. Why? Because conviction is stronger than confidence. Confidence is loud on sunny days. Conviction is steady in the storm. If you wait to feel ready, you'll miss your moment. So, insecurity will always have an argument. It will always point to your past, your flaws, your failures. But conviction speaks from a higher authority. Conviction remembers what was spoken over you in prayer. It remembers the night you fell to your knees and said, "Use me, Lord." And it remembers the life you promised yourself, the one that was birthed in pain but wrapped in purpose.